Mr. Bbanga. He's the managing director for Public Image Africa, and what they do is they actually train us on our personal brands and how to stand out, how to look, to actually have that great outlook. As Steve was asking, do you think the way I'm dressed today is going to cost me my job? And you said yes. Well,
ladies and gentlemen, allow us to introduce on stage Mr. Bbanga. Let's clap for him as he comes to stage. Just from the way he is dressed, just from the way he walks, just from the way he is going to grab that mic, you can see that indeed he is developed for this. So yes, let's listen. Welcome, Derek.
Where are you? I want to say thank you. Okay, thank you. Strongly believe, ladies and gentlemen, that soft skills have become the most important criteria for success in any organization. It doesn't matter where your talent lies. It doesn't matter what your academic background is. It doesn't matter how motivated you are. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that soft skills are the defining character in a sea full of graduates. All of you at some point in the near future are going to hand over your CVs. You're going to be applying for these jobs with some of these wonderful companies that are here. The differentiating factor is not going to be in your grades. The differentiating factor is not going to be at the university you attended. The differentiating factor, yes, ladies and gentlemen, is going to boil down to not just your handshake, but your image and your personal brand. And so I'm here today, ladies and gentlemen, to share with you just a few tips that will give you the edge in this hyper-competitive world that we live in. This hyper-competitive world that we live in. Ladies and gentlemen, I firmly believe that first impressions are made in a matter of seconds. In fact, that's not what I believe. This is scientific proof. This is something that even goes back to when we were created. Now, whether we believe in the theory of creation or that we were running along the plains of Ukambani millions of years ago, I don't mean any disrespect, but I believe that in the vestiges, somewhere in the back of our mind, we automatically judge people subconsciously or consciously. Whether we like it or not, we're already making instant judgments based on a matter of seconds. There's some experts in this field who even talk about 3-second splicing. Malcolm Gladwell, one of my favorite authors, says in 3 seconds we've already determined whether somebody's successful, how successful they're going to be, how much money they make, what school they went to. All of these things are being done in an instant. Ladies and gentlemen, what is that first impression that you make? I also love to quote another eminent scientist called Albert Mehrabian. Albert Mehrabian talked about communication skills, and he broke it down into 3 very simple categories. He said one category is a combination of body language and dress. Yes, the clothes that you're wearing. He said there is another category called your voice. And he talked about a 3rd category, which are the words that come out of your mouth or what you say. And Albert Mehrabian said that the most important category, in fact he gave it an overwhelming 55%, is based on your body language, your handshake, and the clothes that you are wearing. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please look at your neighbor and just look at their shoes, because that's dress. What are those shoes saying? Nimekanyagwa kwa matatu, vumbi ndio hii, or by the way, BAT, can you hire me right away? Where am I going? Okay, I think I'll come back here. So ladies and gentlemen, I only have a short time. I want to talk about some really important things. What image do you want to make? What do you want people to think when they meet you for the first time in those 10 seconds? It may be a potential employer. It may be somebody who's potentially going to be your future husband or your wife. What impression do you give? You know what? Here's another thing I'd love you to do. I'd love you to turn over to your neighbor and ask them, what did you think of me the first time you met me? I'm curious to find out. Just what you thought of that neighbor of yours. Did you think they had lost their way and they'd come here? Do they look like they belong here? Do they look like a potential leader in this country? What is going on? Ladies and gentlemen, how many people in this room are in the business of sales? If you are in sales, please raise your hand up. If you are in sales, you know I'm Kono. What I'd like is for every single person in this room to put their hands up in the air like this. Please raise your hands. You know I'm Kono Hivi. Wave it around like you just don't care. We're not at a TNA rally, but keep waving, keep waving. I'm going to ask this question. How many people are in the business of sales in this room? Thank you very much. This is the correct answer. You are all correct. You're all in the business of sales. And what are you selling, ladies and gentlemen? I think the answer should be apparent by now. You're in the business of selling what? You're in the business of selling what? Yourself. You are the product. You are the message. You are the billboard. You are the CEO of a company called Me Inc. You are selling yourself. You're like a product, like any of these products or services that are out here. And ladies and gentlemen, products and services at some point can go wrong or go bad. Please again, look at your neighbor and see if they're expired as a product. Like Mr. Semekitu. If you are that product, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody was referring you to a company, to a job, to a potential husband, spouse, what would you want them to say about you in those first 10 seconds? Those first 10 seconds. Yes, I am talking about a first impression. And yes, I may be talking about some things that are superficial. But as I have said, we cannot control what we think. To some extent we can, but we are making instant judgments about other people. What are the 5 things you would like people to say about you if they were referring you? This is actually the crux of personal branding. Now my talk is going to be a little bit more about image and not delve too much into personal branding. But take a look at that image that I have up there on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. If you were describing yourself, or somebody was describing you, what would you want them to say you are? Do you come across as professional, relevant, knowledgeable, efficient? All those things can be done in the first 10 seconds. Now, there's good news and bad news. I'll start with the good news. The good news is that you can start creating a map, a roadmap, if you will, to lead people to the conclusion that you're extraordinary, successful, efficient, knowledgeable, professional. And it's pretty simple, actually. You can start sitting like a professional. You can start walking like a professional. You can start communicating like a professional. You can start shaking hands like a professional. You can start smiling, eye contact. The simple things, ladies and gentlemen, are the differentiating factor. What do you want people to think about you when they meet you for the first time? Start creating this roadmap. Lead people to the conclusion that you are the only option of doing business with. Ladies and gentlemen, the people who stand out in this world are those who are seen, heard, and remembered for the right reasons. Don't be scared to be the best dressed man in the room. Don't be scared to be the most well-spoken person. Don't be scared to have the best email. And I'm talking to a room full of young people. I was young once, believe it or not. I know what it's like to feel that, everything is a shortcut. Start leading people to the conclusion that you're professional. That is the key to success in this hyper-competitive world. Let me move on. So we're talking about making an immediate impact. And I want to actually do a little bit of some actual sort of role-play scenarios where you can actually make that impact. And again, that is not rocket science by any means. But guess what? There's so many people who take these things for granted. And this is you achieved in college. That interview, and trust me, Miriam is going to come up here and talk about CVs and interviews through the course of today. She will tell you that decision is made very quickly. That interview will last 45 minutes. People have already made up their mind whether they're going to hire you in the first minute or so. So you need to be able to make an immediate impact the minute you walk into that room. So here are a couple of things that can help you make that immediate impact. The smile, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. You paid good money today to listen to me talk to you about smiling. Because you know why? There's some people who smile and they look like they're crying. That smile needs work. But if I was to tell you that the smile is actually the most important tool in your toolbox of strategic communication, in your toolbox of soft skills, then what would you say? Again, can you just turn to your neighbor and give them that smile? And again, give somebody instant feedback. One day, your smile, too many teeth. Or you need to, I don't know. Anything else? They're shy. Okay, that's lack of confidence. What else? Just yell it out. They're lying? Did somebody say that? What else?
Absent.
They're absent? Thank you very much. I have never heard anything positive about lack of eye contact. And it doesn't matter what region of this country you come from. Now what you do on the Murario on the weekend is entirely up to you. If you come from a culture where you don't look elders in the eye, sawa sawa. But in the business world today, in this country, ladies and gentlemen, an eye contact, which is part of that toolbox of strategic communication, this champion of soft skills, eye contact is absolutely vital. Now, I wish we had time to stand up and work and do some exercises based on that, but suffice it to say, it is important. If you're shy, you're going to have to get over it. There are certain things that you can do, but I want you to know that it is important. Now, we come to that all-important handshake. The handshake, ladies and gentlemen, I talk about this, and I'm passionate about a handshake. In fact, I can tell you theses have been written about how to deliver a handshake. The reason why is, this is the sort of approved skin-to-skin contact in a professional setting, the approved. So the hugging, the kissing, I'm not a big fan of that. The handshake says so much about you. And what I love about the handshake is that you can tell people that you're professional, efficient, knowledgeable, state-of-the-art, extraordinary, all the things you would love to be in this hyper-competitive world. You can transfer that information. Talk is actually cheap. I can say all these things. I can say I have wonderful customer service. I can tell you I'm the best person that you can employ here. But you can back it up with that handshake. Or it can actually take away from those words that are coming out of your mouth. Not only can you tell people the sort of person you are, your brand, your image, you can also find out about that person. And in fact, I can bear testament to this. If I shake the hand of somebody who gives me a weak handshake, I find that there is something, I don't know, a little bit off. And in a business situation, something I can take advantage of. Actually, it gives me an edge. I know that this, that there is something here that's a little bit off. So I want to just for a few minutes break down the anatomy of a handshake. And I'd love somebody actually to come up and we will sort of go through this anatomy of a handshake so that it doesn't cost your job and instead gets your job. So do we have a volunteer? Miriam is volunteering someone. All right, why don't you come forward? What is your name, sir? Your name is Nixon. All right, Nixon, let me first of all start by saying this handshake. Okay, that needs work. I'm just joking, Nixon, that's fine. Now, Nixon, why don't we stand up on this stage so that everybody can see us? Put the pen and the pad down. Okay? You can just put it down here, and I'd like you to stand here. Okay, now the first thing, even before you start shaking hands, now again, this is a black and white situation. It is not going to be like this every time. There's many shades of gray, but ideally, what you want to do when you're approaching somebody, whether it's a networking situation, by the way, that handshake is not just for a formal interview. Even at a time and place like today, where you are meeting hundreds and thousands of people in a place like today, what impact do you leave on that person when you go to visit these different companies as you're hoping to get a job or an internship? So number one, there is something that I am acutely aware of, and I don't know if anybody else is, and it's called personal space. Does anybody guard their personal space jealously? I've never been to these weddings in Kenya where people line up for lunch. Now, what wamesimama hivi? Ukitembea, I'm like, the food is there, it's not going anywhere. Personal space. Personal space. Now, you want to be in, this is personal space ideally. It's an arm's length in front of you, beside you, around you. That is generally my personal space. Personal space is reserved generally for people that I am intimate or close with. Because if I was talking to Nixon like this, you'd be, look at him, he's already freezing up, saying, but at the same time, I don't want to be in another county over here and say, Sasa, are you guys hiring? Okay, sir. So you want to be, that's the personal space, just a little bit within that area so that you have something called presence. I'm actually going to talk about it later. So this person actually feels that you're there, you're in the moment, you look like you are interested in what they're saying. Are we together? Number two, I'll move along quickly because of time. I want your feet, your hips, and your shoulders to be facing the person that you are speaking to. Note, facing the person. There is something about Kenyans. When we talk like this. Sasa next song, Sama. I mean, you've got to face them with your entire body. Now you're looking at them in the eye. That eye contact is not aggressive because there is a what on your face? A what? A smile on your face. Thank you very much. Now here comes the pièce de résistance. This is the handshake. Don't let this cost you a job. Ideally, you want the webbing of your hand, which is that area right there, to catch the webbing of the other person's hand. All right, so web to web. How do you feel? Web to web. Because what's happening here, believe it or not, there is a vein, I think, of some sort that goes all the way up next to the arm. It travels across like here, it travels all the way here to his heart. So if I do this, you should see his heart beating. Let's see. Yeah, there it is, it's beating. It's actually an intimate gesture. So web to web, okay? Now comes the grip. Now, again, you don't want to grip too hard. Oh man, that might cost you a job. But at the same time, you want to put some pressure to let that person know that you are there, present. So you grip it with the right amount of pressure. If you're a man, be aware of your strength. If you're a lady, I find a lot of ladies will shake hands like they're the queen of, I don't know if it's sheep or England. They just deposit their hand and they expect the guy to do all the work. Actually, as a lady, apply a little bit of pressure, especially if that's a man. You've got to let him know, by the way, I deserve this job, all right? So ladies, don't be scared. All right, so you apply some pressure. Look at the size of this hand. If you don't apply any pressure, I'm not going to feel anything. Look me in the eye and smile. Okay, have your feet facing me. There you go. And then generally, you want to pump the number of times that you feel is comfortable. Now, again, there's a lot of things that goes into a handshake in terms of power play, turning the hands, touching the body. We won't go into that. But I am actually having a seminar, which I'll talk about later, where we will go a little bit more in-depth into this. But that is sort of the first basic way of shaking hands in a way that is going to promote you and give people the right impression in the first 10 seconds. So let's just try that again. Look me in the eyes and then give me some sort of a smile and a greeting that lets me know that you are a professional and you can speak English, which is the language of business in this country. What is that greeting? Sasa, vipi, otherwise, ulikuaje, oi, how are you? What is the greeting?
Good morning.
How are you doing? What do you think about how are you doing? What is the correct greeting in a professional setting?
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, it's fine. We'll leave it at that. Can we give Nixon a big round of applause? Thank you very much. All right, work on that handshake, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let me move on. There are a few other things that I'd like to talk about. But I can tell you for a fact that body language is something that certainly I'm passionate about. The way you sit, the way you walk, the way you engage people, it's really important. This is part of that sort of pantheon of soft skills that I'm talking about, which will help you succeed in this competitive world. But let me move on and talk about a few other things, if I can get this to move. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying here, it's really about standing out in this crowded marketplace. Standing out so that you make an immediate impact with your target market, whom your target market is. And part of that is carrying yourself as a professional. A professional in the way that you speak, in the way that you communicate, in the way that you shake hands, dress, your manners, the way that you handle drinks, your etiquette, basically. Just let people think of you when they think of you, and those words come to mind, that you're a professional in everything that you do. And there is something about consistency in carrying yourself like a professional. So are you a professional between 9 and 5 when you're at university, but 11 o'clock at night, Electric Avenue in Westlands? God knows what you're doing. Think about that. The ramifications can be pretty damning. This whole thing about presence is about using this wonderful body that God has given you. the way that you stand, the way that you engage others. The people who succeed in this world are the people who have some sort of presence. You don't want to be neutral in terms of your presence. Condensing, getting smaller, close body language. All of this is going to have a negative impact on you. And remember, it could be subconscious. This is something that we automatically think, and somebody is, as I said, crossing their arms, standing smaller, and we think to themselves, perhaps they're not as confident or as outgoing as we'd like to be. So think about the presence that you make when you walk into a room or when you engage other people. And you want to try and stand out in instances of that. And then finally, there's a third thing I talk about, which is important here in this country, and that's something called polish. Now, what is polish? Can anyone give me synonyms for the word polish? Just yell out an answer, and it's certainly not the product from Kiwi. What is polish? Okay, yeah, somebody said refinement, things like that. Those are not dirty words, Kenyans. I heard when the MC here was telling people their free drinks. I mean, there's something about carrying yourself. Something about carrying yourself with a little bit of polish. There is a case for manners in business today. I'll actually let you into a secret. I'm in the process of writing a book, loosely based on my experiences in the workplace and outside of the workplace to some extent, on civility, how men and women treat each other in this society. Now, don't get me started on that. Certainly outside of work today. But I'll give you an example. I was holding a training session, and it was the end of the break. And these professionals who work for a well-known company, and they were coming back into class, and there was one mandazi left on the plate. Two Kenyans, equidistant from each other, spotted that mandazi at the same time. What do you think happened? I think you can complete the blank there. What do you want people to think when they meet you for the first time? Civility has a place in business. I think I mentioned this, becoming the CEO of your career destiny. Your destiny is in your hands, ladies and gentlemen. Start fashioning that destiny. Start creating that roadmap. How you carry yourself, how you speak, how you communicate, what people want to think. There is a mentality, again, with a lot of young people, and I think the previous speaker, Kamal, talked about this, where there is some sense of entitlement. You are not entitled to anything. You have to work for it. Money doesn't come easy. Success doesn't come easy. You need to work on these things. And part of that, certainly when it comes to soft skills, is taking charge of some of these small things. I'll ask a question, for example, here today. Most, if not all of you, are students. How many people in this room have a business card? I'm just curious. If you have a business card, please put your hand up. All right. There's a young lady at the back there called Maggie. I know her because we've had several conversations on soft skills. She has a business card. Who else has a business card? All right. Are you a student? Why do you have a business card? Julius.
Michael, tell us why you have a business card.
I have a business. I have several business cards because of the people I have met.
Okay. I meant your own business card, Julius. Not other people's business card. Your own business card.
Let me rephrase it. Who has their own business card? If you have your own business card, please just stand up. Just stand up. For taking their career into their own hands. Because as a professional, even as a student, the ideal way for you to make an impact is with a business card. Not to take out your phone and say, "I 07 and flash here." That is your personal brand and your image going down the drain, even as a student. Now I know who has the money to make a business card. Well, yes. If you want to succeed in this world, these are the small things that you can start becoming the master of, amongst many. Please, imaneno ya serikali, I don't get this, or I don't have money, or things, should never be an excuse to be the best that you can be. At whatever budget or whatever level you are in. Start looking at these things pretty seriously. Okay, let me move on. Again, just talking about what I've experienced certainly since doing this work in this country is this mentality of kawa. Kawa. Today is a Friday, so kawa is to dress down. Alright? This kawa is looking at things at this level. Developing a culture of mediocrity. Now, I'm not saying that anybody's mediocre around here, far be it. What I'm saying is that strive to be the best at what you do. Strive to look, behave, communicate better than the person sitting next to you. Take it to the top. When people dress down, dress up. When people are talking shang, you're talking business English. Certainly if you want to go to the professional world, there's a place for talking shang. But look to carry yourself at the top level of professionalism. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a hyper-competitive world. And avoid this business of kawa. Let me ask you a question. Whom is your competition? Whom is your competition, ladies and gentlemen? Who's your competition? Some people are saying themselves, who else is your competition? Well, let me tell you who your competition is. Your competition is every other student, not just in Kenya, not just in East Africa, but around the world. You are competing against students who go to Harvard, who go to Moscow State University, who go to Linköping University in Malaysia, who go to Cape Town University in South Africa. Students just like you, who, if they're not dressing as nice as you, not communicating as well as you, not having the correct body language as you, they're doing it better than you. You should start benchmarking yourself against the best in the business. What are the best students doing to get the jobs that they want? How are the best students carrying themselves? How are the best students communicating, whether it's email? What are the best students doing to mark themselves out as the best in the business and start benchmarking yourself against the best? That is what I mean about rising above kawa, where you say, but since the university around the corner does this, we should also do this. Start raising your game, ladies and gentlemen. Bring your A game to the table every single day. Are we together on this? Niendelea ama nisiendelee? Because I'm seeing some people are. Well, I guess that gives you the answer, but I still have to go on. All right. Now, what do you think about that? In some cases, you can do what? Now, this is not about being fake. Please. I want you to be the real you. I want you to be certainly authentic, and I can talk about that at length. But what I'm saying here is that start putting yourself in positions where perhaps you're a little bit uncomfortable. Actually, coming for a career fair like this is putting yourself out there. You're going to be scrutinized by potential employers. So start putting yourself in positions where perhaps you might find a little bit of a challenge. Apply for those jobs that you think you might not even have a chance of, merely because of qualifications. You have no idea. Start standing in front of crowds, maybe not a biggest crowd like this, but start, for example, speaking in public and developing some of these communication skills. Start dressing a little bit better and elevating the way that you are seen, because visually we take our clues from you during the first 55% of meeting. So it's really about putting yourself in situations that may be a little bit out of your comfort zone. And yes, you do that once, twice, 3 times, you put in the 10,000 hours, and that can become the real you. Okay. You should look like you can outrun, outperform, outmaneuver, out-hustle, outwit the competition. And who is the competition? Who do we say the competition is? It's not that man or woman sitting to your left or right. The competition is what the best students in the world are doing at the top universities around the world. Do you look, do you portray that image? Is your personal brand, are your soft skills one that can beat these people? Start working towards that goal if you're not already. Promote the right image. Here are a couple of things that you can do to start promoting the right image. Start standing out. Part of that is being bold, being memorable. The mere fact that one of you can stand up and ask a question in front of this room full of thousands of people already stands out to people who are over there who are potentially looking to hire you. Because they're looking for somebody who perhaps has the confidence, the communication skills to do that. Let me tell you, in this world, wallflowers will not thrive. I'm sorry to tell you. No matter what your personality type is. So start standing out, ladies and gentlemen. I would rather, in fact, you are loud, proud, and wrong than to be a shrinking violet, a wallflower, somebody who's sitting on that chair saying, by the way, hapa sionge. Stand up and stand up. For the right reasons, of course. Show a little bit of enthusiasm with everything that you do, ladies and gentlemen. Thank God. Kamal, I love what you said about finding a job that you enjoy, that you love. It's not about the money. I found a job that I love. My background is in finance. I'm not saying that I hate it every day, but I had no passion coming to work. But I found a career that gives me fulfillment. I can do this talk for free. I am doing this talk for free. It's about, I love doing this. I love standing here and talking to young people and sharing some of these insights. I have a little bit of enthusiasm. Bring that enthusiasm. If I say good morning to you, what's the answer you're going to give me? Nasukuma, hivi. I know life's not a bed of roses, we can talk about that, but show a little bit of energy, is what I'm saying. When you talk, your tone, even the way you dress, bring a little bit of energy into that. Confidence attracts success, ladies and gentlemen. It attracts people to you. I believe in the law of attraction. What you put out there comes back to you. How many of you have read or watched The Secret? Very powerful DVD. Please watch that. You can call it karma, but what you put out there. So if I say good morning and you say what's good about it, believe me, that is what is going to come back to you. But if I say good morning and you say I am terrific, I am blessed, I am glad to be alive, within reason, then trust me, that is going to bring you the success you so richly deserve. And then finally, package yourself well. Ladies and gentlemen, anything well packaged is half sold. It is true. I'm in the image business. I strongly believe the way you look says a lot about you. In fact, take a look at that slide. Two gentlemen going for a job interview. Job. The gentleman on the right, or the gentleman who looks like he's hiding rocks in his suit. Now, I can talk about dressing all day. Couple of things you can do as young people, which doesn't cost you a dime. Number one, honestly, find clothes that fit you. Whether you're a man or you're a woman. Don't go too big if you're a man, don't go too tight if you're a lady. You should be known for the statistics that come out of your mouth. Not the statistics you're too tall, too tight, too short, too sheer a skirt is confusing the person who's interviewing you for the job. The devil is in the details. Now when I talk about that, when I talk about the devil in the details, I'm not talking about having an expensive watch or anything like that. I'm really talking about just making sure that, for example, you're well groomed, that your buttons are well done up, there are no soup stains on your tie, just simple things. Your shoes, you wipe them as you come into the interview room or wherever it is with your target market, and also watch your accessories. I'll leave that out. So package yourself well. Let me have a good sense of who you are. Tell me about your story even before you tell me about your story. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm already making judgments. Your story, right now, you're telling me, Steve, your story. I look at you, you're well presented, you take care of your parents, you're telling me something about yourself. You're bringing your A game to the table, you have some style, personality, and I'm impressed. Do you impress people? Make that right impression. First few seconds. Become a what? A star. Now, I don't know why I put that gentleman up there, but maybe he's a star to some of you. But become the rock star in your industry. How about that? Become the rock star student for the right reasons. By being seen, heard, and remembered for the right reasons. Start today. Say, I am going to first of all take a 360-degree assessment test of my brand and my image, and I'm going to start from today. When people see me, the word that comes to mind, professional, or whatever it is that you want to be. Become a star. Okay? I'll finish with a couple of quotes. Mary Schnack, entrepreneur extraordinaire. She said, promote what? Your strengths. Remind the world why it is special to do business with you. The strengths I'm talking about here are your soft skills. Promote those. Let people get a good sense of who you are. Here's another wonderful quote from a lady who I admire. Barbara Walters, journalist extraordinaire. She's interviewed kings, queens, dictators. She said, it is not too melodramatic. Melodrama. Oga, oga, that's your average Nigerian movie. Melodrama. It is not too melodramatic to say that your destiny is where you end up. What people will say about you, your reputation. It's not too melodramatic to say that your destiny does hang on your image. So give people the right image. Lead them to the conclusion you want. Don't make them fight hard to find out how good you are. You may be the best. Show it. Okay? And then finally, some shameless promotion. We have a seminar next Friday at my office, and this seminar is going to expound on a lot of the things that I've talked about today. I've just touched on some of them. So if you're interested in this, please, we have a table at the back over there. Please come and see my team, and they will give you more information. Ladies and gentlemen, go out there and do yourselves proud. I wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the presentation.
You're welcome.
My question, I'm Maggie, the court student taking actuarial science. I wanted to ask about striking the balance between what you do during leisure. Like I love art so much, I can draw anything, but I'm doing actuarial and that's a lot of mathematics and everything which goes with it. So I was asking how to strike the balance in between.
Your passion is art, but your parents have said if we're paying for this university degree, you are going to study actuarial science. Can someone give her a microphone, please? That should answer the question, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm also very good in maths. I love arts.
Let me tell you something, and I alluded towards the fact that I used to work in finance. That was my background. And I was successful to some degree. I lived in New York City, I was in the financial industry, making decent money, enjoying life. But as I said, every day waking up and there's this nagging feeling in the back of my mind that, Derek, is this what you're put on earth to do? Is this going to be your legacy? And that drove me to the career that I am today, because I always had a passion for speaking up and speaking out and being in public and that sort of thing. Honestly, if you would love me to answer that question from the heart, I would say pursue your passion. Your passion, as I said before, Lupita is an example of what your passion can do. That lady is 31 years old. She's not 21, but she has pursued her passion. Do what makes you happy. Life is short, and it's not a dress rehearsal.
Changing, and you know, our parents used to say a career is be a doctor, be a teacher. Now we have artists who are making it big.
Yes.
And talking about image, is it, I've seen people in white collar job, and you can see I'm like, this is Generation Y. You see people with dreadlocks, mohawk, and they do business, and they're making it big. Do you have an image for these people who don't want to follow the same routes? Who are like,
don't worry. I talk about the appropriate image for the right industry. Believe me, if you're in the entertainment field, or in the arts, or even in media, it's not about wearing a suit. And it's not about wearing a suit. That's not what I talk about. I'm not saying wearing a suit and a tie is what's going to achieve you. It's about leading people to the conclusion that you want. It's about being appropriate for a particular industry. And at the end of the day, what is right for you? Give yourself the advantage. I'm glad you mentioned dreadlocks, because this is a question that I get a lot. I have dreadlocks and I want to work in a bank. We are in a conservative country. What are the chances that you with your dreadlocks and your A+, coming from Nairobi University versus some other person who comes from a technical college maybe, and it's just, so you've got to, you've got to think, you've got to be smart, is what I'm saying. But there's nothing wrong with being appropriate for a correct industry, for the industry that you're in. So don't worry, Alan, you're fine. Okay? But even as you're dressed, sorry, I'm expanding on my answer. Even as you're dressed, whether it's a little bit more casual or you're not dressed the way I am, there's still sort of guidelines that will still help you stand out. You can't say I've got dreadlocks and your shoes have a hole in them and say, by the way, I'm an artist. Certain things. So, just be the best you can be.
Allow us to appreciate Derek for this.
Thank you.
And as it has always been known with me, I do not just clap for people like we are, So yes, allow me to invite you to appreciate Derek by showering him with claps. So when I say shower, we are going to clap with one finger, like 1 finger, then 2 fingers, 3 fingers, 4 fingers, then 5 fingers, then like what you want to do, okay? Let's do a dry run. Ladies and gentlemen, 1, 2, 3. Yes, yes, yes.